Hey, how's it going? We are continuing a series where we're taking a look at different governments of that, who within the governments, some of those politics, if anything, uh, governments, politics, and then we have citizens, right? If anything, let's bring everyone's understanding to how some of that capital is currently being allocated, right? And some of those incentives, if anything, perhaps as governments are looking to increase or improve the military spending when it comes to upgrading equipment or training of staff, hiring more people when it comes to military. Uh, some of those governments looking to increase to 2% if it's not yet 2%, as well as I would like to make a case that some of those governments should improve its spending when it comes to research and development work. It should be about 2%, I guess. So some people might say it's a 3%. I would make an argument 3%, but even two. Let's increase up to two. From there we get small steps. We can progress to three. But I do understand what they're trying to say. It should be a little higher. Let's start with two, and slowly we can progress to three. Looking at the top performing governments when it comes to research and development, I have covered a number of those. That would be in my last video, and some of those governments have reach out already, and if not, I'll reach out by the end of this week to say the least. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Then it comes to working together, it's something that myself I'm interested in. Partnership and friendship and working together. Since I can be poking a little bit of fun, but it's nothing more than trying to have some fun, I guess, when it comes to working together, right? So there's a lot of incentives within this video. I'm going to be taking a look at Denmark and some of the investments when it comes to research and development that Denmark is making right now. But there are a lot of massive projects that are taking place when it comes to some of those governments being more connected, if anything, rail projects, right, as well as expenditure, right? So with rail, that would be one way how some of those mega projects would be wise use of taxpayers' money, which is a great thing all the time, making people more connected and perhaps reducing cost of travel, as well as the training some of those rail lines. Some parts in Europe, as well as they building some of those mega projects when it comes to making or investing in some of those projects. Right. Let's start with the finance. So investing every euro. Let's focus perhaps on euro so everyone will understand what I'm talking about. 1 euro and what would we consider wise investment? In 1 euro can yield 8-fold returns, right? So one can increase to eight, right? And then we can discuss the timeline. What would be the wise investment of taxpayers' money? For people who haven't heard that, that's a good place to start. That would be a wise investment, right? Some of those reports that was completed by the independent companies within US for whatever reason of what would be good investments within Europe and where they would source that finance, perhaps coming from US, right? So those are mega projects. Some of those projects are coming from Germany into Denmark, which is kind of great. Good investments. I always agree with those. There should be more of those that could boost local economies, wise investments, infrastructure. That's always great. Worth pointing out that and starting with on the positive note. Let's take a look at one of the most recent reports that was published online. Everyone can access that. There is limited information up there. I'd like to keep it brief, so perhaps it's just enough information in 7 minutes video. And we take a look at the Denmark and the report that was published at 2023. Let's take a look at a quick breakdown and some of those areas, perhaps where most of the countries can do better, if anything, without highlighting too much of the issues in the countries. But what kind of data, even people taking a look at some of those reports with access, there are names to some of those reports. So if it's anything, there are people who can potentially be held accountable and credit can be given where credit is due. Again, we're looking at the same scoreboard. Some people sit down and put together a scoreboard, unless most of the people are following some of the scores. Otherwise, it doesn't really mean that much to the rest of the people. Perhaps just a handful who are paying attention at a standard that was set up by a group of people, and they like to measure things against that, which is kind of great, but not necessarily that's important to the rest of people who are not following those kind of things. Let's focus on the broader audience and let's take a look at perhaps, if anything, key points within the research work that was completed on Denmark as a whole and its performance, and some of those areas highlighted within this report. Relative strengths: public, private co-publications, international scientific co-publications, lifelong learning within Denmark, as well as there are, if I just remember right, there are some top medical or pharmaceutical companies, right, who are performing very well in and some of those companies based in Denmark. So it's kind of great. And if we're talking about lifelong learning, and some of those companies perform as well, usually, for whatever case, it might be very, when it comes to legal framework. From my personal experience, I'm not this is not something that I'm interested in, just because how highly regulated some of those markets might be. But there might be some opportunities out there with people who following different industries as well. As let's get on with this report. Foreign doctorate students, environmental related technologies. So relative strength. So environmental technologies, okay, a foreign doctorate student. So perhaps they have skills, knowledge, and expertise within some of those areas, and they, as a whole, they have a large pool of potential people who are focusing on high-end products, and some of that would be pharmaceuticals, which is kind of great. But again, it's very highly regulated industry. Relative weaknesses: government support for businesses, in particular research and development. Okay, there's perhaps, I don't know, perhaps the government can always do more, and perhaps taking a look at the policies, right? We have recently covered Switzerland and what government is doing there, right? Resource productivity. So use of resources and perhaps life cycle, where they could potentially do a little bit better, as well as medium and high tech goods exports. So they could always improve that. A lot of countries focusing on that. It's good that not necessarily limited to that, since we keep encouraging about high tech. As I mentioned, so many governments up there, it's way ahead, right? Perhaps other industries like healthcare, worth taking a look at that. Myself, I'm not recommending and not suggesting in particular if it's not something that you're interested or understand very well. Employment in innovative enterprises, as well as non-research and development innovation expenditure. Okay, so that would be the relative weaknesses. Strong decrease since 2016. Design applications, doctorate graduates, job-to-job mobility. Okay. Strong increase since 2022. That would be sales of innovative products. Okay, good. I have noticed that in particular coming from Denmark, as well as lifelong learning, as well as non research and development innovative expenditure. So it's very niche and not necessarily very broad areas, right? So perhaps there might be just 2 or 3 companies who are doing the most within that government. Strong degree since 2022 of that with design applications, innovative expenditure per employee, doctorate graduates. I know that they are constantly releasing new programs within EU where they can potentially exchange students and do a lot of that work perhaps. They have changed staff or anything, but since I have a lot of friends who went to study to Denmark or visit or whatever that might be classified as, spent some time in there. I don't know, it did a lot of things there. So they definitely, unless something have changed with regards to legal framework, when it comes to moving and doing a lot of things and studying and working and everything within Denmark, other than that, I think that it was on a great trajectory when it comes to having a lot of students coming to Denmark. Yourself, if you're interested in learning more, I have published a book when it comes to livestock enterprise, everything what you would need to know when it comes to, in particular, achieving first milestone. That would be moving from zero, is perhaps not something that you have done before. That would be starting your own company, launching a business, understanding what will be required from you. So that's an area, right? in the beginning, right? So that's where I'm focusing on, like how you can achieve first milestone and how to have milestones, progress or set targets for yourself as a business. Financial targets is just some one way how you can measure success, right? It not necessarily needs to be limited to that. There's other important things. Finance is just one way how people can measure that. Within this book, I'm sharing a lot of examples that could potentially reduce your risk or perhaps reduce expenditure or finances, and hopefully you can succeed. You can find this book in the QR code in the corner or company's website below. Myself, didn't have the chance to go to Denmark. I have spent a lot of time in Norway, so perhaps in the future. But I'm always interested in traveling and seeing new places. Perhaps in the near future, hopefully, perhaps even for a week would be a great experience, I guess. But currently myself, I'm way too busy. But it's a great place to visit. I personally believe some of those countries out there. It might be very similar culture when it comes to visiting some of those countries, but either way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.